Morning, campers. I just moved to do a quick chat about the Jeremy Bamber thing and Sean Atwood's new campaign to free Jeremy. I call it a campaign, excuse me, just because he has the power, the listenership to kind of raise awareness of Jeremy Bamber's predicament of being in prison. So it's like a campaign to free him. And he's got particularly nice people coming on the show, and they're very sympathetic. They're very sweet people. I just want to say my piece because I knew Jeremy over a period of years, not writing to him non-stop like I did other mass killers such as Brady and Kenneth Bianchi, but off and on. And the main point where it had a lot of back and fro was when I was working for the Sunday Express, and I'd written to him before. There'd been a back and throw, and my son was about 1 or 2, and so I just started about oh Jeremy, just to catch up with you. I've had a son now, and he wrote back saying, hope he brings you lots of joy, and this is what he was doing right around then. And so I started to say, well, is there anything I can, help you with? I've always been really sympathetic with him. And I just had a little interaction, little trolling interaction. I call it trolling when someone's mean to me on YouTube. I made the point, so I've got a cold, that's why I sound funny. I made the point about if I had been a man, I might have been Jeremy Bamber, not to, say, oh, I'm so unusual. It's just I had the experience of having an adoptive mother like these serial killers have, like Ian Brady had, like Kenneth Bianchi had, the very dominant, bullish, almost male adoptive mother who didn't really want to adopt someone else's children, who wanted her own children, and who had sexual issues in that they felt that a bastard, using that I'm a bastard as it's called, so annoying that word's still allowed to be used. I'm using myself, but it was used as a point of saying a child like that was somehow beneath humanity. And we were handed to these mothers who believed that we were the offspring of someone dirty, and so they then proceeded to try and cleanse us. And with Sheila, I feel very close to Sheila because she was affected in that way. Her mother used to call her the devil's child because of it. And my mother called me the same thing. I was evil, I was dirty, I came from sin, and then proceeded just to tell me. So I grew up to investigate evil because I thought, well, what actually is it? Is it these adoptive bastards that somehow flip out and end up in prison? So I spent my life investigating it, examining it, writing to people in these positions. Usually men. I did write to Myra Hindley, didn't get a response in that case. But yeah, so I had the correspondence with Jeremy that got quite intense around that point. I then wrote a story. It was a middle page spread investigation for the Sunday Express, and it was on blood spatters on the Bible. So he sent me original pictures from the case. I still have. I'll try and dig them out. And I wrote the story about the blood spatters and the arrangement of them. And I tried to help him, even though I thought he was guilty, which might sound a bit odd, but I have an understanding about what that kind of adoptive parent can do. They just really just crush and shatter the children that they look after. And by shattering, I mean that their persona shatters into shards. And so then the person will have a slippery hold on their physical body because it's in shatters, which makes it easy for entities to come in. And I believe in this case, it was an entity came into Jeremy Bamber the killings are absolutely horrific. And this is why most, certainly those that I've been studying are adoptive, adopted. And this person had put a snide comment under one of the comments I made under Sean Atwood's up and coming video that, why didn't you go and kill then if you're saying if you were male, I had more testosterone, would kill. I believe if I was a male, then I might have gone the other way. The men tend to act out because they've got that, testosterone, that outward anger. That's the way that anger is formulated. For women, they act in with depression. There wasn't one day that went past I didn't think about killing my mother. I remember when she used to beat me, when she used to, rage at me. I would go running down the back garden behind the garage, and I would just be going, die, 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 like that again and again, and punching my fist against my hand. And she came around one day, caught me doing it, grabbed my fingers and busted them right back. They like to torture women like that. And I know it's uncomfortable for people to face that actually behind those men in prison, there's these women crouching. And of course, then people come out and say stuff like, but why don't they say that their mothers are abusive? I mean, in the case of Bianchi, he did come out and say, and then twisted round and said, no, she didn't. And, I've known him for many, many years now, and still he completely freaks out if anybody says anything against Frances. Indeed, I got to know Frances before she died. I was sending her biscuit tins to the royal family, and I got to know she was highly dominant. Just that same type of woman that does with these delicate adoptive children that need so much nurturing. They shatter them, and there is a demonic thing behind it, and I haven't really worked out what that is, but it's a whole demonic attack on these individual children, and they shatter, and then they become something that entities can ride. And Jeremy Bamber was one of those people, and I think this is why he gets sympathy from others. There's nice people on the Sean Atwood show. They're well-meaning people. They have good hearts, and that's because you could look into his eyes and just see someone that's suffered. He has suffered, but the problem is with these individuals that if they come out, it might they might well be accessed again. That's the problem. But I don't believe he did it for money. I believe that he did it because he had no control. And if you think about the horrific nature of the crimes, his mother was shot in the face with a shotgun. The father was battered until he was on the floor. The children were shot as they slept. And then Sheila had the gun rammed under her chin and a Bible put on her. Now, in these demonically charged murders, there's always something that's antichrist about it. For instance, in the Brady case, he put the ticket for the photographs of Leslie Ann Downey. It was left in the lost luggage, but he put the ticket for it in the spine of a prayer book. They do it to kind of desecrate God. It's like when they're doing it. For instance, Brady then stood on one of the graves and shook his fist at the sky, and he said to me later, I don't know why I did that because I don't believe in God. But it's not him doing it, it's the demonic inside of him doing it. Not so much shake. It's not so much shake the fist, but it's a kind of like a two fingers up. So these demonic touches are found. The use of the Bible was opened. That was what I focused on for that investigation for the Sunday Express. There was a certain verse, and I can't remember what verse it was, but it's quite an interesting verse. Sadly, I can't remember. I looked for the, it's around somewhere, the photocopy of the story, and in that, I think I've quoted the verse. There's a certain verse. Was it John? I can't remember. It was relevant though, so it's interesting. Um, and always they have these um, just demonic twists. You could just feel them. Like in Bianchi's murders, for instance, the girls were tortured with, the palms of their hands where Christ was nailed. They were left, with their arms outstretched, and you could just see that just little touches almost of the demonic entities can't help but add their own little flourish just to just to show people that can hear and see what's going on. If you watch a movie, the Amityville Horror, it's nobody has a problem watching that. Nobody has a problem believing that the boy in that is possessed, and yet you look at Jeremy Bamber, it's exactly the same crime, and you no, he did it. He wanted the money, Or then if they can't get their heads around that because it's so horrific, and Jeremy, he's a nice guy, and they think he didn't do it. And of course, it's a two-horse race because Jeremy made it that way. He said, my father rang me and said, Sheila's going mad with a gun. So it's a toss-up between, if Jeremy didn't do it, it must be Sheila. And, Sheila wouldn't have blasted her two sleeping kids in their beds. She just wouldn't have done. I believe she hated her mother, obviously. If someone's going to call you the devil's child, there's no love there. You have that codependent relationship, but deep down, she would have hated her guts. But would she have had the strength to, batter her father? Would she have, he's a man, she's kind of pretty skinny, and then, the gun as well, there was bleed back into the gun, and I think that they worked out with the angle of the gun, that couldn't happen, but then the defense was that the silencer was put in a bag with Sheila's underwear. She had had her period at that time, and so the blood flakes had gone down into the barrel of the gun, and that's how they got there. So that was a point of contention. That was a point for the defense. But I think if you look at it as a whole picture, it's clear to see the demonic involvement, and the demonic involvement came through Jeremy. He said, in the case of these, adopted kids who do that, it is the males act out in that way, whereas the females, suffer depression. And it's interesting. You bring that up, and then when you get like attacked by someone, it's such a like nasty, snide way, sneering what you said, laughing at something that is quite personal to me. My adoption, my abuse, my hate and anger to my parents for doing that, is, it's massive. It's still there. I'm pretty old, and it's still there. It's never going to go away. Never going to go away. And my whole life's been about it. I've spent my time engaging with other victims. And as a therapist once said to me, you're not going to write to another serial killer. You're forming a victim club, which I was really. In a way, it was my way of dealing with it. I might be angry every day because I haven't got my education, because I haven't done this, I haven't done that, I haven't done that. And I look back and can see, it boils down to my childhood. But if I can think, well, at least I'm not Kenneth Bianchi, at least I'm not stuck in a little room, and, I can text him or whatever on the JPay app, and, oh, how are you today? You're in a room, and I might be really depressed off my face, but at least I'm not in a room like you are, and at least I'm not, got the burden and guilt of 13 girls on my shoulders. So you feel a little bit better. So creating a victim club is, it works, worked for me in the past, but it's not really healthy because your life gets tainted by it in some kind of way. Your whole life, even though you're trying to run from it, is still about that. And this moron said to me just now, oh, why don't you kill your parents now? Bitch, my mother's dead. Or perhaps I would have flipped out and totally blamed her. I doubt it though. I'm a female. I don't have that fighty thing. When I was at school and girls are fighting, I was running off. It's very much a male thing to punch, and I just can't do it. I just can't punch into another flesh, or would be able to harm in that way. I've never done it. Hang on, let me think back. No, I did have a boyfriend. I remember scratching his teeth, scratching his cheek. So I did that once in a jealous rage, and he spoke about someone else. And their, sexual encounter. So I did flip one time and scratch his face. So I have done that, but I don't enjoy that physical stuff. I more turn my hate, anger, and pain inwards, which women are prone to do. So these adoptive boys do that, and I do feel for them, because I do think, I understand them. I do understand that pain, and it's dished out to them, and how hard it is to struggle underneath it. And with Sheila, she went schizophrenic. Jeremy tolerated it, but obviously it was like in him, like a kind of a, and when you've got that anger and rage, it's a demonic stronghold, and they can get in there and they can attach to that rage, like they did with Bianchi, and then they drive the person to it. Like he said to his girlfriend, I think I'm going to kill my parents. Like, oh, why would I do that? But I think, my God, I'm, having this feeling. And that is the demonic, like, pushing and pushing towards. He was definitely, just from reading his energy, and feeling letters from him, it didn't have that really, really dark, negative energy of it. I think whatever did it isn't with him anymore. And I think deep down, maybe he knows that something came into him, so he feels like he didn't do it. So I think God will forgive Jeremy Bamber. I think, like Colin Caffell, the father of the boys, who lost Sheila and lost his beautiful boys, says as well. He says when he had a dream of the graves of his boys, he saw the grave of Jeremy next to them, and he knows that something within him died, and that it wasn't the real him that did it. So Colin is pretty advanced soul, understands, whereas other people don't understand. And I think, I do like Sean Atwood a lot, but I think, if you're gonna go out there and say, free Jeremy, I think you have to look at, when we're saying Jeremy didn't do it, we're saying Sheila's guilty. And, this is Colin Caffell. He's still alive. It's his beautiful wife. And that's his beautiful sons. That's the family he created for himself. And we're desecrating that. We're desecrating it. We're saying, oh, you picked wrong, mate. You picked a nutter and she shot your kids. So suck on that one. He didn't. He picked a really beautiful woman, really good-hearted woman, and, they make beautiful children together. And, Jeremy Babang, and, I believe that he was possessed by something. And, just go and sit and watch the movie Amityville Horror. Just see how it takes place. And I think it's actually in the shooting, the boy doing the shooting, isn't it Amityville Horror #4? But it's really very much like Jeremy. I've put a lot of thought into that case, and I do feel for Jeremy. I wrote to him. I'd still be writing to him now, but I did feel, that he does sometimes put burdens on people that are outside that are writing to him. That, it's like, oh, you're responsible for me now, and I'm depressed, and, I'm going through this, I'm going through that. And I did try and help him more, but I couldn't. I don't have the resources, and I've got a child. I don't have, space for helping somebody in that way. But I'm glad he has people around him, people supporting him, and I hope he has understanding, and I hope we as a society get more understanding of things like this and don't dismiss it as impossible. And with all this, like, free Jeremy Bamber, let's think about Sheila. And she's still alive, she's alive in the spiritual world, so she has to tolerate us chanting almost that she killed her beautiful children. So think about that and think about how it's unfair. She's not here to stick up for herself and to at least give Colin Cathal a chance to speak. At least, if you're going to do something about him, let him comment. He knew Jeremy really well and he doesn't speak with him with hatred. He understands that something spiritual has gone on, that wasn't the real Jeremy. He understands that. So he's very familiar with it. He wrote, the screenplay that's gone out, was his Carol Ann Lee. She wrote the book, but he was the main contributor of that. And he was on the chat shows, and he's got a lot to say. He's written a really beautiful book called Over the Rainbow, and it's really sad to read it because it's just sad that there's so much love there that was needed. So much love was there for Jeremy from Colin, from his sister, that he couldn't take because he was shut down, because of Jeremy Bamber. Shouldn't have been given a child to adopt. So the church, again, it was through the church. And the church, sometimes I don't know, I get this really dark feeling that they do it deliberately, that they sort of set it up. I wish we as a society would look at the entities behind these crimes, but we don't, probably because we don't know much about the entities that cause them, the actual entities, the actual, what are they, what do they want? I interviewed Brian Barrett talking about the gin, and I think that's the closest I've got to understanding those entities and understanding how they work and how they feed off pain and fear and blood. Damien Eccles has a really good video called Vampireism on his YouTube that talks about, the certain entity was saying, if I have one more body, I'll then turn into a god. This is how they operate, these entities. And if I have more, and some magicians, some dark magicians, kill animals as sacrifices because it's all about the blood with magic. And they realize that human sacrifices, this gives these certain entities more because they loathe us. They really, really hate us. It's almost like we're not top of the food chain, and yet we don't acknowledge this. So these entities can come through these shattered individuals, namely these poor men that have already suffered lives where they've had no mothers, no fathers, no stability. They've been battered. They've got no way of stopping what comes through them. And we as a society don't understand what's going on. And as well as, the serial killers, whatever, mass murderers, it comes through others. I believe it came through the real IRA with the Omar bomb. I believe that was a mass blood sacrifice. And it's these entities doing their magic using us. And we don't realize it. We just stand there like boobies. And it upsets me. And, I know there's this big increase now in this true crime everywhere. And people are doing a lot of it by saying, oh, we're re-investigating a case, and they might be innocent. Like with Kenneth Bianchi, he has this so-called Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist, getting him to regurgitate for the past 5 years. He's got Bianchi to regurgitate every spit cough about each murder. I personally, maybe I'm a cynic, believe this guy doesn't think he's innocent. He just wants to be the big cheese and say, I know everything about this man. I know. Bianchi, unfortunately, sucks up anybody that comes along and says, oh, I'm prestigious. Look, I'm this, I'm that, I'm that. And, he goes along with that. That's how Chris Berry D suckered him. And instead of learning, he still gets suckered by it. And, these people waste an opportunity, because there is an opportunity for us getting people that have gone through this to actually talk about it, to actually sit and write a book and to talk about every moment of their lives and when these entities came in, because you'll find there is certain times in these lives, certainly with Bianchi, where he recalls being in an attic room and having an entity there. In the gosh, I can't think of his second name, the guy that murdered those two beautiful children. In that he threw them into an oil tanker. Again, entities visit him in his cell. There's always entity involvement if there's massive horror and a certain feeling of, could that really, could that really, could someone have really have done that? That kind of like shock horror. And then you get the brigade that kind of sense that it is entities and sort of kind of want to get close to them, want to almost pay homage to them, and they're not honest enough with themselves to go and sit and follow EA Coetting or something like that. They don't want to acknowledge that darkness in them that's attracted to that darkness. And so they sort of become incredibly aggressive about saying, oh, they're actually, they didn't do it, but in a massively aggressive way, because it's their way of following Satan, getting close to Satan, and in their own personal way. I've come across that a lot, and we do, as humans, we do have an attraction to Satan because we're half his and half God's, and we do have that. So we need to acknowledge that, and we need to acknowledge that actually, even though these people have acted in a really, men and women, Myra Hindley has acted in that, appalling manner, that, that it is something that comes in that pushes them along to do that, and if they acknowledge that, I think it would make us more stronger, actually. I do think now at a certain level that these beings, whatever they are, have got the whip hand and have got control of us and are, they do want population reduction. They are causing us to feel the stress and strain to a really crazy, even the petrol pump thing, that thing, no petrol at the pumps, and now there's people fighting. People are massively stressed just through being alive, and that the only person that benefits, the only beings it benefits is them. And it's almost like because of the ascension, because things are changing, they're becoming more and more out in the open. And by out in the open, they're not actually out in the open, but their antics are out in the open. And their antics are this kind of thing. Now, if you grew up with parents and often adoptive parents, they let, because the mother usually, because they have this pain. Now, demonic entities can only get in if you've got strongholds in yourself. So with the adoptive mother, usually there's a lot of pain and anger through not having her own children. So then they get the adoptive children, and then they're like, oh, that's from a whore who was out shagging and all this kind of stuff, and the child's dirty. And so they have that, they put everything, all that darkness onto the child. I experienced that, and it's no joke, it's no picnic, it's they might as well kill the child because it has that effect. It's horrific. My adoptive mother did it to me. I still don't forgive her. No, I do. I've worked on it. I do forgive her. But it is like a blanket falling over you. I mean, it is just obliterating to the soul to have an attack like that when you're just a needy child and need a mother. It is, it's pretty bad. It's concentration camp stuff. And it does engender rage. And when you have rage, that's a demonic stronghold. It's a doorway to them. And when you have hate, I had hate certainly when I was a teenager and onwards. And people that don't have hate, they don't understand it. And it's just something, it's like having a pot. You put a pot on the top of the cooker and you let it boil, and it's boiling. Like say it's got milk in it, and milk when it boils, it just rises up. It's like having that inside you, but all the time. It never goes away. So it's almost like you're constantly angry, and you have to deal with it. And it's horrible. I know, and I was trying to make this point, when men have got that, they normally become fightish and fisty. I've dated men like that. I to help ease mine inside me, I would go for men like that. And then when I was with them,
because I could tell they were simmering constantly, it let me almost like I could stop pushing mine down, like pushing a beach ball underwater. I could like let it off and like look at them, or look at them dealing with it, you know. This is worse than mine. I can just like, get a relief. I used to go out with a lot of men that were drinkers, because when they've got that, it's hard to deal with all the time. Sometimes they medicate. They literally, I remember dating a guy called Steve, and he would wake up first thing in the morning, 7 o'clock a.m., go for a bottle of vodka, and I would watch him pour it down his throat like he was drinking Evian, and it would go right back to his parents. He said they didn't love me, my mother didn't love me. It's mainly the mother that can have that effect, and he couldn't handle it. You know, he couldn't handle it. He drunk on it, and you know, I loved him very much, but he he was out to destroy himself, and he would fight. You know, he'd fight men. He would pick fights. He was a good fighter. He was so angry. His eyes like glittered with rage. And so this is the road it takes in men. And in women, they become women that date men like that, or they become depressed, and they then inwards. I don't know why that is, but I've studied it, and it is. You know, the person, Wendy Wander, who said to me, "Why don't you kill then?" You know, I'm a mouse. We also become bully victims. I mean, I go through life having sand kicked in my face. I just do. Still now to this day, I'm just a bully victim again and again and again. I mean, I recently posted about a past life experience. What I thought might be a past life experience was a dream. And, you know, I got Facebook friends saying underneath, "Oh, you know, this can't be so, whatever." Some sneering at me, you know, and that's a form of bullying. It's like they wouldn't do it with someone else, because they'd be like, "Whoa, that person's got boundary," but they can smell victims and little mousy people, and they know that I won't say anything, that they can wipe their ass on me, and Christine won't say anything. She'll go on being our friends, but I say deep down, I'm building up, you know, it's called stamp collecting, and then what happens, that person will say one last little thing that'll offend me, and I will bang, and I will absolutely go for the jugular, and I'll be building up a lot of things that I can say back to them. And that's how my relationships, you know, tinker on. Basically, it's human nature to attack what they see as weak, you know, especially if they're feeling shitty, or maybe, I don't know, you've been asked to go on someone's podcast, the other person, that should be me. How come she's got nothing to say, that asshole? And, you know, so they like jab at you like that, you know, and it's just human nature. And if you're, you know, the people I admire on Facebook, Layla Sine a lot, she's someone that if someone's off of her, she will just put up a boundary and, you know, speak to them. Adrian Morgan's another one. You know, these people, and they have so many friends, because people feel on safe ground with them. You know, they know that, you know, if they're feeling shitty, you can't say to Layla something that will, you know, vent, but they know they come to my Facebook page, they can have a field day, you know, wipe, whatever they want on me. And that has been, you know, again, another upshot of mine, as well as, you know, not getting my education. My mother was jealous of me, so that went down Swanee. And I think I would have been an academic. So there's that, and there's the fact I've just, you know, been used as a shit catcher and used as a bully. And, you know, I hid behind men. I dated men like Jeremy Bamber, and I would hide behind them, you know, if anybody was, you know, bullying in that way to me, in a way that I couldn't stand up for myself. In a way, sometimes people bully you that you can't say, "Hey, hang on," because it's like snidey bullying, as I call it, or like dissing or talking to them in a way that's wholly disrespectful, laughing at what's precious to them, and that petty, snidey bullying, passive aggression, whatever, that I don't know how to deal with. I would like, you know, push my man forward and let them deal with them, or even just have a man like that around and just bring him up, you know, was the way I've dealt with my life. But it's silly. You know, at the end of the day, you know, you might decide you don't want to go out with men like that anymore, which I did when, you know, one of them, you know, really hurt me. And you think, I don't want to have had enough now. I need to kind of get rid of that anger. But because you're a bully victim every day, sand kicked in your face, day in, day out, sand kicked in your face. The anger doesn't go, it's always there. So it's kind of difficult to get rid of your anger, to be a normal person, to be someone like Layla, who, wouldn't it be awesome just to be like her? I haven't got it in me. It's almost like having a bruised stomach where you just can't get it together to stand up to people when they're shitty. I'm gonna try doing it, I find it hard. I find it hard, especially if you look at something, you think, hang on, am I taking this the wrong way? But it's actually at that particular point where you're thinking, am I taking this the wrong way? Can I diffuse the situation? Where you should say something like, actually, are you getting me there? Because that's hurt my feelings. But that's exactly the point where I kind of bottle out and think, well, hang on, I want a peaceful life. Maybe not feeling great right now. I don't want conflict. So you just suck it up. But then you end up with the poison inside you. So it's because it's such a big deal to stand up. Someone like Layla, it's just second nature, bang, to just, someone says something off, you're like on it, like Flynn, and there's no effort. But someone like me, someone says something off, I'm like, oh, and all of a sudden you've got all the past, stuff coming up. And so it's hard. And people sense that and they think there's somebody there. She might have this going for her, but whenever I want, I can wipe my ass on her. And she doesn't even notice. Because when I'm trying to make out, I'm saying a friendly comment, really, it's just getting, you're nothing. You're nothing. Just remember that one. Yeah. And people sometimes use that smiley face with the tears of laughing as a point of aggression. It's supposed to be about joy. It's not supposed to be there just, I'm wiping my ass and you're wiping my ass. It's not supposed to be used for that, It's like, whoa. So yeah, rest assured when people are getting at me like that, I know, I feel it. And I'm sitting there, I'm brooding, and I'm thinking, I'm going to explode at you. I'm going to go crazy at you any minute now. One more thing, you're going to get it. You're going to hear some home truths given in a very vociferous way. It's called Exploding Doormat, and I do it. I'm an exploding doormat. I really am. I did that with Kenneth Bianchi. I was speaking to him via texting in the JPay app, and he was like, oh, I'm innocent, I'm going to get out. And I tolerated that, even though it's just such an insult of the victims, tolerated it, and then just exploded one day. I had a cold, I wasn't feeling great, and, he was like, I've just written 78 pages of emails to fight my innocence with my legal team. I just thought, no. And I just exploded, and I said, look, mate, not only are you guilty of the alphabet murders, but you're shitting on the victims there. Why didn't you write something valuable to give back to humanity? And I hope that maybe Jeremy Bamber will get to Bianchi's age in their 70s and think, well, I haven't got that much longer to go. Why don't I give something back? And then when I go into the astral, when I go into my further life, I will be in good stead. But sometimes they don't. Sometimes deep down, these people are really working it, in their subconscious, but they almost like when they put their hands over their eyes and they think no one can see me. People can see it. Brady was more honest about that. He used to say to me, in the afterlife, when I get there, I'm in credit now. He said, Chris, what you don't understand is I've got favours there waiting for me. That's just Satanism 101. He believes that when he goes there, and I think Bianchi's got that going on. No way that Bianchi doesn't use his jinn to attack whenever he feels like it. Even after a phone call I had from him last month, I was attacked straight after. If he thinks you sound a bit off, he'll go at you. This is somebody wielding that demonic power. And if they wield that demonic power willy-nilly at people, that's dark side. And they know that they're dark side, but they, judge other people as monkeys. And they don't have to tell them because they think that person doesn't know about this well, I know about this powerful world, but I don't know, and I wield that power. Oh, sorry, buddies out there. People do know about the occult, and it's only getting stronger and stronger and stronger. We can see it. We know about it. We know who's dark side, who's light side. We know about the entities. We know about. You're not fooling anybody. And the only honest one out there, yeah, Brady was honest, but somebody really honest that tried to help humanity's understanding of it. And the work, I think it was Sandra, is it Sandra Locke? No, it's a movie star. Sandra something, she did a lot of work with this guy. He's called Danny Rawlings. He did a lot of murders. I can't remember the name of the place. And she got a lot out of him. And he wrote in these letters to her that when he was watching these girls from a distance, an altar, they've always got altars, okay? It's got altars because their parents shatter them, okay? And that's when the entities ride them. So he was saying, when one of my altars, I think John or whatever it was called, when I'm watching the girls, I'm stalking them through the winters, John comes forward and John wants to kill them. And John sits there and I have all these fantasies about going in there and doing this, doing that. He said, but only when Gemini comes is when I move forward. He said, Gemini comes, it's like a dark wind, and he drew pictures of it. These used to be online, they're not anymore. When Gemini comes, it's like a dark wind, and then I have no control. That's an entity, people. That's an entity. And all these serial killers, there's no point in us having the crime cards and these people speaking and Carol Ann Lee telling us all what Jeremy Bamber's like. She's just going to call him evil. Chris Berry D saying what Kenneth Bianchi's like. He spent 2 minutes with him, to give him his stuff back. Bianchi wouldn't visit with him. And in Carol Ann Lee's case, she never met Bamber at all. So why are we asking these people what their opinion is, or thinking we'll learn something off them? We won't learn anything off them. You're better listening to Brian Barrett talking about the jinn and what they do and what their life is like, and finding out that way if you're interested in these people and why they're doing what they're doing. Because when you're focusing on them, you're just focusing on just like a used dish rag, just on something that was used. And sometimes it irks me that people are so envious that I met Ian Brady. Well, I just met like the local grocer. There was nothing unusual about him. He was very dry, very sarcastic. I suppose that was perhaps like there's plenty of people out there that like that. There was nothing unusual. It wasn't an experience. The only experience I had of someone like that was when I met Bianchi, and just for a fraction of a second, I experienced that entity coming through it. It's still with him, which is why he can attack people that go near him. That's that people. So the team that are around him with that, you're innocent, we're going to help you get you out, just so they can get all his goodies. Oh God, I hope you're ready for what's going to be unleashed on you when the penny drops with him, that you're just after getting a good documentary. Because I tell you this, I've had it fired at me, and I had to learn magic. I had to have entities that I actually call on for protection, that I actually work with, and some of them are dark, but I have control over them, and I will use them for protection against these people and their dark entities. It's out there, it's prevalent, and I do believe these entities have control. They have the whip hand. They have, in World War II, Hitler was dealing with them. He was dealing with the tall whites from Aldebaran. They were at Wellsworth Castle. They were bringing them through portals, and they knew this, that they were using them to sort of access, to dream hack. They were the tall whites from Aldebaran, and their enemies knew this, and I think a deal was struck. Think about it. These were otherworldly beings. These were gods that they were calling through. So what I believe occurred is there was a deal struck, and these entities carried on ruling things. So it's not like, oh, but hang on, those entities, they were dealing with the Nazis. So only if the Germans had won, then those entities would have been in control. It's not like that. Once they come through, then they will be dealing with whoever they feel like dealing with. So a portal was created at Wellsburg, and they were dealing with them. And people say, oh, let's have disclosure. the Americans are dealing, with ET. But as Edward Snowden reported, that the Iraqis said, well, America is controlled by the tall whites. It is controlled, and we need to think about the fact these aren't human, and these are beings that need to feed off us. They need to feed off us. They need something in our blood. Okay, and if you don't believe me, go and watch that old 70s program, V. It's just like that. It's just like that, sadly. They've been here a long, long time. And they've got control now. And, all these things are happening, like, oh, energy's so expensive. And it doesn't need to be like that, this earth. There's no petrol at the pumps. Well, the media caused that. We can all see that. And the media's controlled by that. What they want is to feed off our fear and our stress. And when you see it, punch ups of petrol, that's what they want. They want fear. They want, oh, there's going to be no food now in the shelves. There's plenty of, that could be sorted, but they don't want it sorted. They want us to be afraid and scared and, oh God, what's going to happen next? And we are in a position of, oh God, what's going to happen next? And there's no point us going to these true crime things and focusing on, I'll focus on Jeremy Bamber because that'll be a great distraction. Well, the fact is, Jeremy Bamber doesn't know where it's like all day, the poor sod. And you're not going to get anything out of focusing on Jeremy Bamber, which is something I did when I was younger. I grew up in a place which, it was confusing. There was abusive people in control, and now everybody's in that same place. And there's like, mummy and daddy president or prime minister, and they're in control, and we're in a bad place. What do? Let's look at true crime. It's not an answer. I've spent many years, I don't want other people to waste their lives. It's not an answer there. The answer is in what came through that darkness. You look in the right direction, but look at the actual darkness itself. Look at the act. Really feel the act. If you want to think about Jeremy Bamber, really think about what went on that dark night. That dark night. That was darkness. That was darkness that arrived in the house. That was Satan himself. Satan himself arrived in the house that night. That was no boy or girl. That was Satan himself. Think about it. Think about it. And then you thought about that. Think about the reality of that Satan, and is right now running our entire lives. It's not in a cell in Ford prison. We can, shall we free him? Is he innocent? There's no need to focus on that. The darkness is out there. The darkness is actually got control over our lives. And, while we're feeling confused and we're feeling trying to make sense of everything, we need to look at them. We need to look at their power. We need to ask ourselves, what's the antidote? And since they are supernatural, they're supranatural, and they're intradimensional, okay, we need to get supernatural intradimensional ourselves. We need to become aware of the astral, the mental, the causal. We need to study that, and we need to speak to any beings that might help us. There are creatures that are on our side. There's certain angels that are on our side. There's certain that are sort of twist between both. There's certain that are darker. You need to learn to harness them. So you need to get magicked up. Actually, we all need to do that right now, to get magicked up. To not, go to CrimeCon. Because actually, what you do when you go there, you're just going, Hail Satan, Ave Satanas, whatever. That's what you're doing. There's no point. Maybe you're feeding something in yourself that thinks, I don't like humanity. And, I quite like a dark thing out there that doesn't like humanity. But the fact is, it's coming to get you. You're in a meat suit right now. So it's like you've got a target painted on your back and it's after you. So whether you think or not, I quite like it. It's a bit sexy, actually. That's great. But it's still going to eat you, okay? It's still going to comfort you. I mean, I thought, the hillside murders, how fascinating is that? And how interesting the darkness involved there. I'm going to go along and I want to find out about that darkness. Well, the darkness wasn't going to stand there and let me sort of pick at it and feel its dark black feathers and, can I have a look under that wing? And, let's have a look right deep into your eyes. Oh, they're interesting eyes, aren't they? No, it's not like that. It came at me. And when it came at me, I was sitting there with my best friend and saw him beheaded. That was the visions I was getting. It doesn't like us, And suddenly I realised that what I'd been chasing my entire life, I was sitting there face to face with it, and I had no control. And it did not like me. It did not like me at all. It was laughing its head off as it was showing me the most glorious, nastiest filth imaginable. And that went on. I had no control. I had no control over that. I was shit scared. I was shit scared. These entities exist. Their main strength is in they know that we don't believe in them. And I'm going to put this up, and I'll get trolled by. But the people you get trolled by, they're people that are actually harnessing that darkness inside of them. So they've got it. It's like in the season 6 of Lost when Claire got the poison, and that rather good-looking Japanese guy was going, "No, they've got the poison, and it's growing in you." And apparently Saeed had it in him, but I don't believe Saeed had it in him because he was so good, deep down, wasn't he? But it can grow in people, and then they become little conduits for the dark side, and they can attack anybody that's trying to help others bring them up to the light. So don't troll me underneath here. I'll just remove the comments if they're, if I'm going to get, can't say it, if I'm going to get attacked and controlled. I don't like it. I won't read it, and I won't take in the energy. Do you understand? So you're wasting your time with me. I just press delete, 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 and your energy won't get to me. And as well as that, I'll be firing it back. Okay, so these people, they use like fake names, and they think, "Oh, I can say what I want. I can fire at people. I'm not going to get it affected in my life." Well, I can read your energy, and I can fire that dirty black poison back at you. So later on in the day, you'll be like, "Oh, something bad's happened to me," or "I feel depressed." Yeah, that'll be me. So don't do it. I'm not your victim. I'm not a pincushion. I am not here just for people to wipe their asses on. So I'm trying to share to offer the benefit of what I've gathered up through my life, because it's very selfish. In doing that, it gets me that I can say to God, "Hang on, God, I spent my afternoon doing that. How about I can have something nice happen to me for the rest of the day? How about, I go and find some money that I can buy a book I want, or, have a stranger smile at me." So when you put out something that tries to help God, God then comes down and says, "Okay, I'll help you a little bit." And then you say, "Well, God, can I have a little bit more help?" I mean, I said to God today, I was sitting on the loo, and I said, "Look, God, I don't have a house, and I'm getting older, and I'm scared because I haven't got anything solid, and I feel really bad, and I don't like it that I wake up every day, and I'm scared, and I'm angry, and I realise I need so much money to get a house, to get security, that I feel just like a rabbit caught in the headlights. I have no idea where to start, what to do. I'm older, and I feel like I'm being squashed every day. Every day I feel like I'm in a vice that's squashing me." And I actually looked at that panic at the petrol at the pumps, and I thought I was going to have a panic attack. This world's getting nastier and nastier. It's only going to increase because they want Lucifer to come here. So it has to be, so the vibrations are negative. So it has to get it to a point where we are happy living with a very, very negative vibration here, that it's not high, it's low. So that way Lucifer can actually make this his home, and also a lot of us are going to get killed off. The sort of, the weaker ones with lower immunity, with anything wrong with them, they want bye-bye. So that is what's happening right now. It's ugly. And, I said, "God, at least give me a roof that's permanent, that I can never be thrown out of, so I have some security, because I feel, this is a bad place." I said, "Let me have it." And I said that I wrote it down. I wrote down the prayer, maybe feel a little bit better, because I know God's listening. I know the angels I work with are listening. And then I went and I was sitting on the loo, and I got my answer. And, it was this being said to me, "Do you feel strong physically?" And, just getting over an illness, whether it's COVID or not, I don't know. But I said, yeah, I feel fine. And is your eyesight clear? Yeah, my eyesight's clear. And can you touch that? Is your touch okay? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And your body's okay? You're not on a dialysis machine? Yeah, 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 I'm okay. You haven't got cancer today? No, 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 I haven't got cancer. Well, then, aren't you secure? Aren't you secure? Haven't you got a secure home? And why aren't you celebrating? And why aren't you saying the glory of God today? The gratitude for your safe and secure home. Anyway, it shut me up, I suppose. So my prayer was answered, not quite in the way I had it planned. I was hoping for a winning lottery ticket, but it was answered in God wants me to go out to the outdoors, to go to Parkland and run around barefoot and say, praise the Lord, thank you. I've got my eyesight. Praise the Lord, thank you. I've got my body, my legs to run around in. That's how he answered my prayer. How do I feel about that? Pissed. Pissed. Oh, yeah, I want the lottery ticket, you know. I didn't want the, be a better person. Anyway, I will do that anyway. I will do it. I'll go out right now and I will give thanks and praises for my secure body that no one can throw me out of, my secure eyesight, my blood, my bone marrow, my nervous system. It's not in pain and it's secure. I am not blind. I can run. I can walk. Thank you. Thank you, Father. So thank you for listening. I'm sorry I've rabbled on. God bless and see you shortly.